I'm in a place I wanna be. I'm fighting things no one can see. Hey everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Shorts Nutrition Series. My name is John Taglieri, and my guest today, you guys probably know him by now. He's been on our Monday show, and we just did a gym feature on him last week. Mr. Ryan White, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you today, John?
I'm awesome.
Good.
So we're gonna sort of be watching as everybody's chiming in. One of what we're basically gonna talk about today is nutrition for a high functioning athlete. As you guys all know from meeting Ryan in the kitchen and from seeing his gym workouts, he runs the Hero Training Center. Hero Training Center is a full service, full fitness kind of gym. There is kickboxing, there is cross training, there is full body workout. It's the real deal. And but one of the things that Ryan does is train MMA fighters. So he's very well versed in the nutritional aspects of what a fighter needs and somebody functioning at that level. And we've been talking the last couple of weeks about eating for Thanksgiving and then eating after Thanksgiving and everyday kind of stuff. So today I want to sort of switch gears and look at what kind of nutrition high functioning athletes need, and this is even for everybody, because even though I may not be a professional fighter or a professional athlete, I still try to function at a very high level as an endurance athlete running triathlons. If you run 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, triathlons, anything where you're moving that much, a higher level of nutrition is going to be necessary than your everyday nutrition. And that's what Ryan and I are going to talk about today. So for those who haven't met Ryan, why don't you give them a little more of your background than I just gave them?
All right. So I first became a trainer in around 2007 or so. I did the independent scene for a bit. I worked in corporate gyms. All the while I've been training and fighting and coaching at a social sport fighting in Norwell. And about a year and a half ago, me, Joe Lozon, and John Mirando ended up opening the Hero Training Center over in Carver. And that's where, like you said, we do, the main bulk of our training now. But for the MMA stuff, I still do, that's still coming out of social sport fighting.
Okay. Now, when you're training a fighter
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody in your gym,
Yes.
what's the difference in how you approach that aspect?
So if you have somebody who's putting a lot of work in, and so generally that would be your high level athlete. Like the fighters I train are training nearly every day, hours a day, and it's usually pretty intense stuff. And so what you need to do for them is make sure they have adequate carbohydrate intake, as opposed to where a regular person who's just maybe working out a few times a week, they don't need as many. And so it's really making sure that you're getting the carbohydrate intake needed to sustain the activity you're doing. Whereas from a general body composition perspective, as you want to reduce carbs as much as possible. However, if you want to create a strong engine, you generally need them. And so it's sort of finding that balance where you're not going to gain fat, but you're going to get the energy you need through your carbohydrate intake.
Now,
And so
you're also balancing that with calorie burn. At that level, you're burning a lot of calories. So you do
exactly.
need the carbohydrates to refuel the body. And electrolytes, you have to, there's a balance between losing calories and water and keeping the electrolytes to, at a good level. So when you're doing a carb push on somebody, how cognizant are you of the electrolyte mix as well?
Usually pretty good, especially when we're talking about post-workout. That's when it's really important. That's actually when it's most important to get your carbohydrates, and we'll, really dial that in, especially once we get into like the weight cutting portion, when guys are getting ready to drop, 20 or so pounds over a relatively short period of time. Then, it'll get to the point where the only times you're taking in carbs, if any, will be post-workout.
Okay.
But usually in the last 2 weeks, you're not taking in any.
And what types of carbs are you feeding them? Obviously, they're not going for bagels. They're going for simple carbs like a Gatorade workout carb.
Yeah, and so if it's for right after, oftentimes what guys will do is they'll have a shake, And that'll usually be a protein that's going to have a simple carbohydrate intake, and so a good ratio of that, and then maybe putting in some other stuff. That's when like fruit can be really helpful, and and stuff like that. I mean, because you really only have like a 20-minute window
Right.
after the work where it really matters.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of guys say, "Oh, I just worked out, so I can now eat a ton of crap." But it's like, if you're doing it an hour and a half after the work, then at that point you're too far gone, and you have to eat normally.
Right. There's a metabolic window that people have to make sure they stay in to absorb the protein in the proper fashion. You know, as an endurance guy, so I do a pre-workout, then I'm drinking post-workout during the workout to get my BCAAs and my glutamine in to prep my muscles for the protein. But like, say I'm in the middle of a race. Now, obviously, I know you can't do this in the middle of a fight, but endurance-wise, we have things like Gatorade chews or small
Yeah.
protein bars or goo gels or things of that nature that will give us a carbohydrate push in the middle of a long distance event, whether it be a
Mm.
run, a half marathon. On your racing belts, you can carry a lot of different things that you can take mid race. How do you do that with a fighter mid fight? Can you do that?
So, so we actually can't, because that's something that the athletic commission wouldn't allow.
So you can't have a
So,
gel or anything like that mixed into his water bottle?
we may, you could theoretically sneak one in, but I don't think
Well, we don't want to be
you're
sneaky.
right.
I'm just saying, in a general fashion, in the midst of a fight, it's all relying on the training at that point. There's really not a lot
Well,
of nutrition that goes on during a fight.
well, exactly. Because then also to understand a fight is probably just going to be 15 minutes at most.
Right.
And so, it's not like, you're doing, a triathlon where you're probably doing that for hours, and so you could usually make it to 15 minutes, you know, but during the competition, it's always just water.
Okay.
You'll sometimes see people do like energy chews and stuff if we're talking about like doing jiu-jitsu tournaments or something like that, where you have potentially 5 or 6 matches and it can be going on over time. Then that's when we would do things like energy chews and stuff like that. But as far as actual MMA competition, most athletic commissions, at least everyone I've seen, won't allow anything but water in your corner bucket when you go to the cage.
Okay. So now you're taking somebody who comes into you and whatever aspect they're looking to do it in, they want to be a top level athlete and they want to do an endurance style training. Did you craft a nutrition plan for them, or do you
Yep,
just sort
yeah.
of advise them? Like, what type of nutrition plan would you craft for someone like that? Like, break it down like a morning, noon, night kind of setup.
Okay, well, so basically, obviously, since I'm not a dietitian, so I can't actually prescribe
No,
a
I
nutrition plan.
understand. Yeah, we know that.
But as far as advice goes, if you're talking about a real endurance athlete, that's when you'd really want to be a little more liberal with the carbohydrate intake than you would with somebody who is, like what I usually see at Hero, who are looking for like body composition. So now, generally, we would still want these carbs to be good ones, and so that's generally going to be cellular ones. So carbohydrates that come from plants. Generally, you'd want to avoid. I'd still want to avoid the processed ones. But basically, what I'd want to do if you were an endurance athlete is just make sure you're getting plenty good protein, plenty of good fat, and then still the carbohydrates that you need to sustain your effort. But that said, I've also known and trained really good endurance athletes. Like I trained a couple of national level cyclists who they'll sometimes do a full ketogenic diet and only take in carbs as needed during the training
Right.
or directly after. But otherwise, they're high fat, moderate protein, virtually no carbs, with the exception of what comes from vegetables.
Okay, so now I want to go back to something you started talking about a little earlier, cutting weight.
Yep,
It's something I think most people don't understand, especially if you're not in the fight game.
sure.
Explain what cutting weight is and the potential dangers.
So when
Because you get
you,
people, I don't mean to interrupt, you get people who want to lose weight so quickly, and they look at these diet plans, they can lose weight so quickly, they lose it quickly, and they don't understand how metabolically bad that is for them. Now, cutting weight is a drastically different thing. So I want to talk about that. Then I want to
yeah,
relate it to your everyday. I can make you lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks kind of stuff, which
yeah.
I hate. So
Yeah,
cutting
me
weight.
too. So generally, so whenever you hear guys in the combat sports world refer to cutting weight, that's weight that you have the intention of getting back. Because like when people want to lose weight, they want to, have it be gone and then never get back. They want to keep that good looking body. Whereas when we cut weight, that's where we're looking to lose. God, I've seen guys lose up to 30 pounds, and that's weight that you largely intend on getting back.
Okay.
And so basically you would weigh in specifically for like, you'd be at that weight for maybe 5 minutes as you hop on the scale. And then after that, you start completely replenishing yourself so you can get as much back come competition time, which is generally, if we're talking about mixed martial arts, the next day. There are still some amateur circuits which will have you compete that same day, and that's what they do in most jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's a 24 to 26 hour period between the weigh-in and the actual fight, and during that, you're trying to replenish as much as you can.
Okay, so that's cutting weight. Now let's
Yes.
metabolically talk about what that does to you. Now to your kidneys and your liver and your internal organs, dropping that much weight, dehydrating yourself that much can
Yeah,
be
it is
potentially
not great.
bad.
Yes. It can be. That's why, I mean, there is a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. The argument can certainly be made that in general it's unhealthy. But then again, so is fighting somebody who cut 30 pounds and you didn't. And so if we're thinking about the short-term danger and winning, it's better to cut than not to.
Right.
But if you're fighting somebody who does, but yeah, it could really put your kidneys and your liver into some bad stuff can happen, and bad stuff has happened when
Okay.
guys haven't done it properly.
So now
You
let's
know.
relate that to the diets you see where people say, oh, I started this diet and it says I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks.
So those will often work similarly to how somebody would cut weight. Basically, they're losing water, they're reducing inflammation, but as far as actual body tissue goes, sure they'll lose a little fat, but they're also going to be losing some muscle, and oftentimes it'll tank your metabolism because a lot of times they're deeply calorically restricted, so you're getting in that starvation mode, which from an evolutionary standpoint isn't great. And then and yeah, so it's going to mess you all up, and oftentimes you end up gaining back more than you lost when
Which
you
is
do
the
things
thing
like
that
that.
I've always noticed is, the I did Atkins and I lost 25 pounds. I kind of put most of it back. That's the common circle of that. I lost the 25 pounds, but I
Exactly.
put it back because, well, number one, you bounced back once your body you started feeding your body again. Number two, and I preach it on the show. I preach it everywhere. Here's a shake, drink it. Here's a protein bar, eat it. Here's a meal in a box, eat it. 3 weeks from now, you're going to lose 25 pounds, but at the end of that 3 weeks, there's been no education. So you're going to fall
Yes.
right back into the bad habits of what you've been doing.
Well, exactly. That's why I often, really try to preach lifestyle change, and I make it a really gradual approach especially when I'm taking let's say, average person who just wants to lose body fat, build some muscle.
Right.
I try and I try, and I alluded to this on the Fit Show Monday night one, where I'll take a gradual process to them changing their behavior rather than saying, okay, you're going to do 2 weeks, no grain, high fat, moderate protein, sort of that's like the Atkins model. It's sort of
Right.
like a version of a ketogenic diet. And that's really tough for somebody who's just, like I said, just looking to maybe lose 10 pounds and just wants it done easily, and
Yeah,
so
and I think the other thing too is people don't realize when they start something like that that most of the first bunches of weight are are water from the muscles, not
yep,
not fat. They're not losing any fat content. They're dehydrating muscularly, which is going to be
exactly.
bad for them in a long term type environment.
Oh, 100%. And again, if it's when it's not sustainable, you'll actually end up putting more on because when you go into those severe caloric deficits over, your body ends up going to starvation mode because from an evolutionary standpoint, it doesn't know that you're intentionally doing that, and it thinks that you're wandering in the desert or something. It doesn't know when you're going to get food,
Right.
so it'll slow down the metabolism to keep you from burning all your energy because it doesn't know how long you'll have to go without food. And yeah, and so and then oftentimes people feel so deprived after that that they end up then overdoing it with what they eat after. I know in the past that's what I had done,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah. It's
and
it's it's the binge and purge kind of life.
Oh, of course. And if we're talking about fighting, I know I would always, end up after a fight heavier than I was, when I first accepted the fight. Because it's like you go from being incredibly strict and being on this very Spartan regimen to then you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to eat everything. And so, and that
I'm
then
gonna
that's
eat
not great either.
everything.
Exactly, all the food. And it's like that's not great either.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and so that's why, especially if we're talking about your average person, it's really important to be cognizant about things like that and create lasting behavior modification rather than just trying to get that quick 20 pounds in 10 days.
which
you
is
know
which is why I've always said, and it's something I try to talk about is get a nutritionist. Don't do a program. Find
well
somebody who will teach you. Don't eat out of a box.
exactly, you don't want a fad program, and this goes for both exercise and nutrition.
Yeah.
You want a real coach who will teach you how to do everything, teach you why you're doing it, and then it really educate you so that way you can always end up making those good choices even when you're not with that coach.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Oh,
This has been
pleasure.
definitely a different look at nutrition than we've had in the last couple of weeks of just, not going out to a restaurant and overdoing it. This is a lot more in the world of what I think anybody looking to really jump off into a deeper end of the pool
Yeah.
needs to hear and needs to know. So thank you for taking the time today to sit with us, everybody. This is Ryan White from the Hero Training Center in Carver, Massachusetts. Go back and you can see him here in the kitchen about 2 weeks ago. And last week we featured the gym on our Thursday workout, and it was brutal. So make sure you go check it out. If you want a great gym and a great trainer and a great coach, look Ryan up.
Thank
Uh,
you, John. I really appreciate
and
that.
I will be back next Wednesday, 2 p.m., and we'll talk some more nutrition. Everybody, you have a great week. See you soon.
Take care.